Sensational weekend at Hurling, Fintan.
Yeah, very impressive, right?
You were down at Semple Stadium to see Borris-Ileigh end 33 years, a 33-point win over Cuala. I wasn't there because I was with Cuala, but what were the scenes like in Thurles?
Oh, it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. It probably wasn't the greatest game, but it was very, very tight. The result was kind of in doubt the whole way. Last quarter was really, really exciting. And, it was exactly as I thought it was going to be. Whoever was going to win, there was going to be absolutely just that kind of wild joy because of, Borris-Ileigh's case had gone 33 years. Cuala hadn't won it. And, whoever lost then, there was that kind of sense of devastation because it was the second defeat in, within a couple of years. And for both, compared to the finals that they lost to a Thurles Sarsfield side who were probably operating kind of at the peak of their powers, you would have thought a couple of years ago. I think both would have looked at that this is one that we can win, and I think that makes the kind of pain for Cuala all the more because it probably feel that it's one that they could have got over the line, and then conversely for Borris-Ileigh it's a super achievement because I suppose for a couple of their players, chatting to like Brendan Maher afterwards, he was saying that he thought that they had a good chance in 2007, I think it was. He said they lost the quarter final, but then after that he said for the last 12 years has only been the year they got to the final, and that was a bit of a surprise. So it's not like they've been knocking on the door repeatedly. I'd say there is a sense for the older guys probably thought this chance probably won't come, and you're looking at neighbouring clubs having got over the line, and like Tommy Var and Thurles Sarsfield, he wouldn't be a million miles away from they're winning numerous titles. So I think it was a classic sense of for a team to win one, it means a huge amount to them.
Yeah, there was a huge outpouring last year when Clonalty Rossmore won it.
Yeah, it was a bit similar to that, yeah.
And obviously I'd be kind of a little bit, of course I'm massively biased here, but I have this feeling that there's a bit of a romanticism about Borris-Ileigh, storied past all the All-Ireland winning captains that have come from Borris-Ileigh. And I spoke with my mother on the phone afterwards, and I could hear it in her voice. I spoke to the father on the phone, hear it in her voice, and it just seemed to be joy everywhere, all over the field. Even the pageantry with the cock being lifted up, the bantam cock and all that, it all just fed into this is the story that should have happened. Commiserations to Cuala, of course, but it just felt like it had to happen if this was the story.
Yeah, I think they tick a lot of boxes when you look at kind of what, I suppose when you look at a team after winning a county final, you're like, why is this team so happy? And I suppose it's because it was the first medal for all of them. But it's for a club which has a big history. Your brother was talking afterwards about going into Stapleton's bar your whole life and seeing the 1987 All-Ireland winning team. Yeah. So it's that sense of a club that has an illustrious past, and current players are constantly being reminded about it. And a lot of people spoke about it's been a very tough year for the parish off the fields. There was that kind of sense as well of there's big names to the outside wider hurling community. Yeah. Brendan Maher being the biggest one, given the year he's had, given the fact that he got an All-Star award on Friday night, given, it's only last year that he tore his cruciate on that very pitch and what he's gone on to achieve in 2019, and then, Dan McCormack, Paddy Stapleton, Ray McCormack's played for Tip, the Kenny brothers. There are kind of a lot of facets there. And then I suppose there's as well, I think, a huge achievement by Johnny Kelly in winning his third different county senior title in a different county. So, he's done it with his own Port now winning counties and All-Irelands. He's done it with Kildare and Offaly. And now in the space of 3 years, he's taken Borris-Ileigh to 2 finals. And they've won the second one of those. And you'll have to give them a lot of credit the way they've won this year's championship. The fact that I think quarter-final by 2 points, semi-final by 1 point, and the final by 3. That, he's taken over as the Offaly senior hurling coach under Michael Fennelly for 2020, and right now looking at his CV, that looks like a serious addition to that setup.
So the man they call JD, James Devaney, corner forward, 1-4 from play. The mother was telling me that on Tip FM during last week, they had his little sister on the radio talking about, well, James always scores the goals, or if he doesn't score them, no one sort of scores them. Hilarious sort of lead up that she'd interview a little sister. He does look like the sort of guy who's going to go on to better things.
Yeah, the county semi-final would have actually been the first time I would have seen him play, so I heard it. I think he got a couple of goals in the quarter-final.
He did against Drummond-Inch, and one of them was just magic, just magic hands and reaction and speed.
To be honest, he was probably pretty quiet against Cuala. They kind of seemed to hold him pretty well. He did get one good point towards the end, but you could see he was on it from the start on Sunday. And in fairness, the holes from Forley, I think they're all under 21, Kevin Maher and Jerry Kelly as well. When you get 110 as a combined haul from them. Yeah. But I think in particular, Devaney's performance, he got 1-3 in the first half. He got a point after half time. He didn't score afterwards, but I think he probably kind of maybe captured the Borris-Ileigh performance in that they had laid the foundations by then. They had that 4 or 5 point buffer. And even though Cuala probably came back the stronger for the last 20 minutes in terms of the pressure, they were putting on them, he had kind of inspired Borris and kind of helped them kind of give themselves that cushion that was able to get them over the line.
Billy Seymour had an early chance saved by James McCormick in the goals. Sticks is his nickname. And
Unbelievable.
Then saved the penalty as well.
I actually thought that ball had gone into the net first of all, but it actually it turned out afterwards it had hit his hurley, the post and the bar in one go, and that's within 30 seconds. And that was the kind of a moment you felt like if that had gone in, maybe things could have gone a bit different. But
these games change on moments like that because just the whole momentum swings so much.
Yeah, like Kildangan only got one goal, but they had probably chances for about 4 or 5. You know, Barry Hogan came up for the penalty and it was saved.
And he saved the cross himself, which is more difficult.
Yeah, very, very impressive. There was another one that was cleared off the line by Sean McCormick.
And it was actually Tommy Ryan Foot. And the reason I wanted to mention Tommy Ryan Foot is when he was a young lad, he would have been, we're talking at least 10 or 12 years ago, he was on a parish league team. My brother was captain, Paul was captain of the team. So I was asked to come down and manage it because Paul couldn't care less. He was so relaxed about it. So I thought I was Pep Guardiola showing up trying to manage these lads for an under 14 team, you know, of ages ranging from probably 6 to 14. So I was going through them one by one saying, right, you're to do this, I want you to play here, I want you to mark that guy. And I get to Tommy Foot and he just looks at me and goes, I just want to go out and do some hurling. He was only about 8 or 9. But so I thought of that when I saw that. But losing what's his name, Joe Gallagher for Kildangan late on, I think it was a concussion, was it?
Yeah,
I
think so.
That was big as well. Like, he's your main man, your captain.
Yeah, and he had been making an impact in the semi-final, but you know, I thought like they kind of handled Paul Flynn quite well, and I thought probably been a bit more impressed with him actually against Cuala. He kind of helped turn the game. But it just had that sense when that second goal wasn't arriving and the chances were coming. And from each of those goal chances, they did get a point from them. Yeah. But like the closest they got was 2 points. They never got closer. And it was just one of those classic ones. As the half wore on, you just thought they weren't going to be able to reel them in. And it just felt that maybe their style of hurling was just breaking down ever so slightly when they got to attack. You know, I mean, like a couple of times the short passing and the kind of running game was absolutely superb, particularly in the
hurling stuff.
The creation of the penalty move was brilliant. Like, you know, they did a really, really good move at hand passing, but other times it just kind of broke down. And like calling back a 6-point lead in November is quite difficult in hurling when it becomes a bit of a dogfight.
God, it was nervy there at the end, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Last ball going in.
Yeah, and like it kind of felt that way the whole way through. Like once Kildangan got the goal after half time, you felt like it was kind of going to go down to the wire. But you know, I think the better side won on the day, and huge scenes of celebration, and just like you could see what it really, really meant to, like as I said, the kind of older, experienced crew who probably thought that, you know, we're not going to get this senior medal. Yeah,
geez, the bonfires. There was a massive bonfire outside the pavilion. Yeah, they were, and they're continuing to enjoy it. Actually, just a quick mention of the Sean Areen final or Seamus Areen final the day before. It was
the curtain raiser.
Yeah. Sorry, the curtain raiser. J.K. Bracken's beaten. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, I was down for it, yeah.
J.K. Bracken's beat Holy Cross Ballyhale, last second goal. Can you explain the sort of setup to that? Because one of the Holy Cross players is not happy.
Yeah, and I think they have a right to be upset. So I suppose this goes back to explain both sides are promoted already, but you know, the fact that they were already going up to the top senior grade, you wouldn't have known it with the way the game was going on and how much.
In what sense?
Just, I suppose, how both sides were kind of invested in it. You know, how much it meant to kind of deliver, and then the kind of joy and devastation afterwards. You know, there was no consolation for Holy Cross. The fact
you want a cup, you want that cup.
Yeah, absolutely. So I suppose it was pretty tight all through, and then Holy Cross went 2 up, and say about. There was 4 minutes of injury time due to be played. There'd been a couple of stoppages, and a ball went in, and the Holy Cross fullback was coming out, and to what looked like everybody, it looked like he was fouled, but the ref waved play on instead of a free. There was a big kind of a scrap for possession, kind of around the 20-yard line. Eventually, the ball was cleared, and Jacob Brackens managed to work it in, and they won the free 20 yards out. And you know, everyone was back there. But somehow Lyndon Fairbrother, one of the great names in the GA.
Incredible name. Like Liam Sheedy should call him up and make sure he becomes intercounty quality, because that name on its own is like.
And he stuck it. He basically just, you know, hit the ball low along the sod, and it kind of flew in. And pretty much from the pocket, then the game was over. And Holy Cross didn't really go near the ref, but you'd have to say they had right to have a bit of a grievance. Fair play to Jacob Brackens, hung in there, and they're in the senior football final on Saturday, so an amazing week for their club.
What a double that would be.
But it was yeah, it did look like it should have been a free out in the initial passage of play for Holy Cross.
At 5 o'clock then, Cathal Barrett, who plays for Holy Cross Ballyhale, he tweeted, "Surely club players hurling finals at junior, intermediate and senior B level deserve the same standard of referees. The top teams get club players training and blackguarded all year, and to have journeys ended on a disgraceful mistake. Hashtag Oreen Cup, hashtag Holy Cross," and tags in Tipperary GAA. It's obviously not happy, but like, yeah. What do you make of players tweeting that stuff? I mean, the plus point, I like the honesty of players. Yeah. Obviously, people are just going to say, "Oh, you're sour over it," and sling some mud back in their direction about something else that happened that has nothing to do with this game. But I actually do like that people are being honest about it.
I think it's good to express his opinion. I mean, I don't think he's been abusive there or whatever.
No.
And what I did notice after the match, I'd say he sat down in one corner of the pitch, and I don't think he moved for about 10 or 15 minutes. Like, he looked absolutely devastated, you know. And I don't think he would have achieved a huge amount of senior success with his club, so I imagine this would have meant a huge amount to him to win a cup in Semple Stadium with them. Look, it was a big moment. The flip side, like, I think you can never take these moments in isolation. I know what happened towards the very end of the game, but they had missed a couple of chances maybe to go 3 up at stages in the kind of the last 10 minutes, and there was one in injury time. He actually won a brilliant free around the middle, but it was put wide. But look, definitely it was one of those. When I saw it straight away, and to most people that I was chatting to around, most people felt it should have been a free out for the Holy Cross defender. So they had justifiable cause for complaint.
So it seems convenient that I would justify what would be perceived as sour grapes for some. I'd have to say, like, I wasn't overly enamoured with the refereeing performance as Cuala got knocked out against St Mullins. Now, St Mullins were very good. Cuala, as bad a performance as I've ever been involved in. I wasn't taught because I was injured. That's not me sort of distancing myself from the performances, by the way, obviously, but definitely the refereeing performance. Some very creative decisions there. There was like one stage in the second half, crucial stage to level the game. We had won a free more or less on the 45, I'd imagine. One of the players kind of gave a fist pump to celebrate it, not taunting. And the referee decided to throw a ball. Other end, the exact same thing happened. What does the referee do? Nothing. Yeah. Continues to let it free. There was just a lot of decisions but at the same time, it was a non-performance. And I'm like, people say, "Oh, you're taken away from St Mullins." No, I mean, I can obviously point out what happened, but at the same time say St Mullins were great, can't I?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like, for these sort of results, it has to be a big mixture of both, doesn't it? When a team is coming in from such a level that, you know, they've won All-Ireland clubs and they have so many kind of, I suppose, so many county stars, and they've been kind of used to coming to this. For a shock to occur, for the underdog to beat the favourite, you need the favourite standards to drop a little and the underdog to kind of play above themselves for it to occur. But like, to me, like, when I heard it, I was down at Semple Stadium, like, that's a massive result, not in the context of the Leinster Club Championship and in context of the wider All-Ireland race, because I suppose ultimately, probably as guilty of it as anyone. Most people are looking at that it was shaping up as a Cuala Ballyhale final with the way the Leinster draw had panned out.
Do you know, actually, I was down at the Kilkenny final the week beforehand, and I was on the field, and Ned Quinn, the Kilkenny chairman, comes up to me and saying, "I can't wait for Cuala Ballyhale."
Yeah.
So I mean, it was everywhere. Like, we obviously wouldn't have been talking about it. You never do, and I mean, we would have had that in 2018. After the 2017 Dublin Club Championship was building up for the All-Ireland, people from the get-go were talking about Cuala and Piershick, because it was just kind of, everyone was thinking this is going to be some All-Ireland final, and you're thinking, well, we've about 4 games in the meantime, and you can get caught, which what happens now.
It's probably more common you're going to get caught as well in the club scene. Like, you've seen it over the years between football and hurling. It's just probably a bit more ripe for shocks, isn't it? You know, like, whether it's.
Do you think it's conditions?
I think it's
players at the end of long seasons.
Long seasons. I mean, look, you've seen football examples. Mullinlough against Kilmacud and Rathnew against St Vincent's over the last couple of years.
Schlockneil losing to Ballycran last year by 10.
Absolutely. And like even Leinster hurling scene, like, the result that Sunday resembled for me was Mount Leinster Rangers, who'll be neighbours of St Mullins, beating Ballyboden in 2013.
And then Owlert.
And at the time, that was a massive shock, the Mount Leinster Ballyboden one. And then obviously Mount Leinster backed it up by going on to win the All-Ireland final, which was very impressive that they didn't kind of get carried away from that one. But the fact that, again, Dublin opposition coming down to Dr. Cullen Park and getting taken down by the Carlow opponents. So, you know, there has been kind of form line for this kind of thing. But definitely, look, it is, to me, like, it's a big disappointment for Cuala in the sense that, given you've had such standards and you've been to, I suppose, like the very end of the season, you've been to Patrick's Day, and you know, you had a kind of a year away from it last year when Ballyboden won it. I'd say maybe the Bridges game aside, looked really, really impressive in the manner you were kind of dismantling everyone before he in the Dublin Championship, to not even kind of get up and going in Leinster. Has to be a big disappointment.
Well, of course, there's a legacy of that Alan Nolan tackle on Conor Callahan, because, of course, he couldn't start, and he was only came on for a couple of minutes. Of course, obviously, he's not at his full health if that's what's happening. Colm Cronin, captain, and probably the most underratedly important player that we've had in those 2 All-Ireland wins. He didn't play at all. Oisin Goff, captain in 2017, former Dublin player, he couldn't play at all. He was a late withdrawal. So it felt like a bit of a perfect storm in the sense of what could go wrong on our side. I think our shooting was absolutely terrible. I think everyone would say that. But at the same time, I'm really not trying to take away from St. Mullins, but of course it will come across that way.
Well, all these factors conspire for a result like that.
People will say, "Oh, you're not giving them the credit." Well, I mean, surely I can point out facts as well.
Well, look, a few big players missing, and you wonder, does it seep in? Just like from the outside, you're thinking like the Dublin champions get down to play a Carlow side for all the kind of strides that Carlow have made over the last couple of years. St. Mullins haven't really, been in this position or haven't kind of made a major scalp, but you kind of sense sometimes, don't you, that like an underdog team just needs this kind of a scent of it, particularly if they're at home. That I think gives them a big cause, and it just seemed like the goals probably at big times.
And James
give them a
Doyle's
big lift.
Lovely goal. Like, I mean, there was a mistake for the first goal. Jack Kavanagh sent in a long ball that was spilled into the net, and then James Doyle with a lovely finish. There had been advantage given for a free for Mullins in an attacking position. I think maybe 1 or 2 players might have switched off at that point. It kind of does happen. No doubt that'll go down well. But and then James Doyle with a lovely finish. What was I going to say? Yeah, the situation the last couple of minutes in the stands was
that overshadows everything.
Yeah, I mean, so for those who missed it, one of the selectors for St. Mullins, I think he'd gotten a ban from the previous game, and he was up in the stands. So as the game is going on, he's in the stands, which is just above where the bench is for St. Mullins and their management team. His son Oisin goes on, so he's been brought on. Then there's his father, Michal, who's up in the stand, has a heart attack, and he comes rushing off the field. I think one of the Cuala players pointed it out to Oisin that there was something happening. He realised it was his father. He runs off on the sideline, and I see him running off, and I was like, "What's going on there?" And then I see a load of people. I'm at the bench.
Yeah.
A load of people in the crowd stand up and are looking over a couple of times. And I'm like, "What's going on there?" I thought maybe there's a row on the sideline, and there wasn't. And I came onto the field afterwards, and I'm walking around, and you see the Cuala players obviously have their hands on their heads, but so do the Mullins players, and you sort of get a sense, right, there's an ambulance coming in here. It's a scene of shock, and I'm looking over and I see CPR being administered on the poor guy, and the players are all walking over, and you're kind of transfixed looking at this scene of what's happening in the stand. It really is quite chilling. Colm Cronin, as I said, our injured captain, he's a doctor. He's over in the situation. Mullins tweeted afterwards, "All in St. Mullins Club would like to sincerely thank you for all your efforts today. Genuinely appreciated. Special thanks to wonderful Cuala supporter Dr. Niamh Murphy. Michal is doing well, or Michael, in no small part to your assistance." It really was a crazy situation, and even like you would think there was huge joy for the players on the final whistle who didn't realise what had happened, and then almost instantly it's just like devastation on both sides. Yeah, it was so strange.
The pictures, was looking at them on info of the St. Mullins players, like they looked eerie almost, to be honest. Like they looked, just like not that usual devastation you see after a match and you lose. It was just that type of shock with their hands to their heads and all just kind of standing around trying to comprehend what was going on. But thankfully, he's on the mend, and I think one of the selectors was interviewed yesterday saying the first thing he asked when he came to it was, how did the game go? So anyway, wish him all the best.
Yeah, tough going. So thank God he's all right. Some of the other results in the Leinster Championship then: Rathdowney Earl 4-16, St. Ryan of Offaly 10 points. Like that's a serious beatdown when you consider that it was 9 points to 6 at half time.
Yeah, and I think that was a game that last week we were chatting about, finding it hard to maybe separate the two of them.
Yeah.
That's a serious victory.
Yeah, seriously. Ross King with a couple of goals, Mark Kavanagh and James Ryan with the other ones, and they all came after the break. And I don't know, is it a thing for St. Ryan as too, like huge joy after winning their county title, and then there's a bit of a letdown in the next game? But like it's no different really for Rathdowney. So they both won previous titles in recent years, so it shouldn't be. Ballyhale 321, Clonkill 215. One Cody with 3-4 from play.
Yeah, it's just a forward line talent that Ballyhale have. Like, you know, like he got 11 points out of a 321 total. 2 players scored 315, and you still have other guys like Adrian Mullen and Colin Fennelly. So, like, you've 2 All-Star winners, you've the Young Hurler of the Year there, and then it's another guy who looks like he's going to be the next forward to step up, gets 3-4 from play. I mean, it's amazing ability of one club.
All-Star fullback Joey Hall and former Hurler of the Year centre-back Michael Fennelly.
Yeah.
And it's like just all throughout the
yeah,
field.
and like, just I suppose we're kind of repeating ourselves from previous weeks, but just looks like they're really, really starting to motor now.
They
probably need that 2-week break now, don't they? Because like they've been playing week on week the last while.
Yeah, so Rathdowney Earl face Mullins in one semi-final. Ballyhale will meet Wexford's champion St Martin's. The O'Connors would want to be on fire, I'd say.
And it's in Nolan Park as well. Tough ask.
Can't make a massive case for Mullins here. For Martins here. I think they'll give them a good old game of it, but in terms of keeping with the scoring power of Ballyhale, it's tough going. The Munster club over the weekend, Ballygunner of Waterford battered 6 Mile Bridge, 121 to 12 points here. Were you surprised with that?
I think definitely, for the nature of it. This was the 4th campaign, I think, in 7 seasons the 6 Mile Bridge have been in. While they haven't been successful in the last couple, they've always been very, very competitive. They got to a final one year. Actually, they lost that quite heavily to the Piercing, but they still got there. They probably should have beaten the Piercing another year in their home place. Lost by 2
years ago. They lost by a point in Walsh Park.
And like, so you lose by a point in Walsh Park 2 years ago to Ballygunner. You're playing them at home. You know, you probably think like some of your young players have improved.
2,000 people there. Nice little crowd on a small.
The amount of impact Davy Fitzgerald has had. Like, it looked like a tricky one for Ballygunner to go up there. You know, we were talking about the distance, the travel and all that, but it looks like that they've taken their game to another level for a team that, you know, don't seem satisfied with the fact that they finally made that Munster club breakthrough last season. Seem to be kind of nursing maybe a bit of a grievance, the fact that they didn't get over Ballyhale in that All-Ireland semi-final.
Well, not to look too far ahead, but this season has got Ballygunner versus Ballyhale written all over it.
Yeah, it does. Ballygunner probably have some tough battles ahead though if they are to get to that stage. Like, you've obviously Patrick's Well next Sunday, you've a Munster final, and then you have to play the Galway champions in an All-Ireland semi. But what I find interesting with Ballygunner is the team seems to be, you know, reshaped a little bit this year. Daisy Hutchins is obviously the big addition that people are talking about, but Barry Coughlin got the wing back, like that video that was going around yesterday of the goal.
Like a 90-yard run or something with the ball, knocks it over a lad's head, bats it. Obviously the shot isn't successful, but Desi Hutchinson knocks it in then.
So I thought this was kind of unprecedented for a guy who thought it was as a stopper, but a friend of mine was pointing out to me and sent me on the link that was in 2013 he did something similar against De La Salle.
Right,
okay. After the wonder goal, after a superb one. You know, even like we've gone about the level of talent that Ballyhale have. Ballygunner brought on a guy, Conor Power, who really, really impressed me over the last couple of years.
2 points he scored,
But he's not starting. So Peter Hogan, who's a very good hurler,
scored
on
3.
the Waterford senior, he gets injured. You're bringing on someone like Conor Power. It looks like they have a lot of strength and depth to kind of utilise at the moment.
You mentioned Barry Coughlin. We played Ballygunner in a challenge match in Tinner Island in Carlow, I think 4 years ago. He was playing midfield. And one time, and I'd mentioned this before on different shows, one time he soloed straight up the middle. And I just could not get over the speed of it. And I heard afterwards that at one point he in a speed test, he was the fastest guy in the Waterford panel.
Right.
So it's nice to have that and find a way to utilise that, not to contain a player on another team, but to actually damage another team. So interesting to see how Patrick's Well deal with that. Pádraig Mahoney with just a point from play, but 9 frees is always nice to get that. It was 7-2 after 10 minutes. So it seemed like it was over early. Yeah, to some degree. Do you think Desi Hutchinson will be that extra difference, that scoring threat that they haven't had before? Like 1-2 here, after doing a huge amount of media the week before, it didn't seem to bother.
No, I think that was one thing that struck in that game against Ballyhale, and in previous games we've seen them play. They just can't be relying on Pádraig Mahoney's frees. They kind of need a couple of guys to be chipping in, but it looks like they have a few options there between Desi Hutchinson and Peter Hogan. Like you said, Conor Power coming off the bench, you know, just that kind of range of scoring options. And then they're just very well set up at the back. Philip Mahoney, so
Shane
good.
Sullivan.
Thought the 6 Mile Bridge manager Tim Crow's comments were interesting afterwards. He was basically, you know, saying this was a wake up call for us. You know, we thought we were doing well, and we thought we kind of had a sophisticated game plan, but he said the way that they've evolved, and they've been at this for about 6 years, and you can see how kind of well drilled they are, and it was their kind of style and their game management seemed to really, really impress him. So it does look like that they've taken their game to another level, albeit they have a massive test, I think, next Sunday. Home advantage is a big help, but that's a very impressive Patrick's Well team.
A final point on Ballygunner. and we played them in another challenge match last summer. Just the physical size of them, they really do stand out. Like they're all inter-county size players, more or less. You know, there's obviously a few small, fast guys, but huge guys. And I'd say the level of backroom team is very strong. They had one of those. They were videoing the game. They had one of those huge boom type poles with the video camera on it, and someone underneath looking at a screen moving it around. So like they're not like a Reg Arse Rover sort of setup in any way.
Level of preparation that's gone in. You know, I think when they won the Munster last year, I think a good few of their players said, you know, after all the previous final defeats, that the consensus was after 2017 is whatever we've been doing, we need to redouble our efforts. So it's basically a case of that we haven't got as far as we do, so we need to start working harder and start putting more in. You know, those little things that you mentioned, they're probably, I suppose, they all feed into that. Like, but it does look like a side that are kind of looking to kind of go one better this year.
Final word then on the Hurling Shinty international test. Scotland 5-11. Ireland 4 points. Now I'm not going to analyse the action because it's a bit of a whitewash there. But it's a waste of everyone's time without the big names, much like the international rules and the Railway Cup. When it's not given its absolute best and the best name put out, it just feels pointless.
Yeah, but I suppose, has it ever really attracted crowds, even with kind of big names? I mean, like
probably not. But like then again, it is kind of crammed in, much like the Railway Cup and. Just when other big club games are going on or inter-county stuff is going on, this is kind of just crammed in there somewhere. So we'll get it in and we'll get it done. And there was no massive names in there.
Yeah, but I just wonder, like, what's the purpose of it? Like, I mean, is the purpose of
it
to get no? But if the purpose of it is to just give guys a chance to represent the country, and if it's just for the players, and if the players enjoy it, work away. I mean, I don't think has it ever been about. Like the international rules, they go on about crowds and all this, and the Railway Cup go on about crowds. You never really have heard the GA making that argument, have you, with the Shinty, that they want to attract a 10,000 or 20,000 or whatever.
But I remember a couple of years ago, even a game on down in, I think it was Cusack Park in Ennis, and you had the likes of Seamus Callan playing there. You know, it just makes it, I'd have far more interest in watching it.
Yeah, and maybe a couple of big names,
Yeah, you get lured in by big names or whatever, but I suppose that's the reality of life too. If you don't have them, people aren't going to be as interested. So that's what I'm wondering for the future of it. Right, that's it for Club Talk Hurling. Have we it all said?
Yeah,
we have. Yeah, so don't forget to follow the page by clicking on that circle just there.